I, 44-year-old male, relocated to a different state just before my senior year of high school. It was during that time, a few weeks after school started, that I met my wife, 44-year-old female. She became my first girlfriend and remains my only romantic partner, my first kiss, first relationship, and so on. It didn't take long for me to fall in love with her, although it took her a bit more time to reciprocate those feelings. We dated for a total of 8 years, but after about 2 years together, we both knew we wanted to get married. We were both 17 when we met, so we thought it would be better to wait until we were older and more mature before tying the knot. Eventually, we got married and enjoyed a strong marriage for 18 years, spending a total of over 26 years together. During this time, we ran a successful business that allowed us to move around the country since it was home-based. While my wife supported me in the business, she mostly relied on my work for financial stability. I didn't mind, as I was brought up with the belief that men should be the primary breadwinners. Like any couple, we had our share of ups and downs. However, things took a difficult turn in 2015 when my wife's mother was diagnosed with cancer and passed away the following year. Just 9 months later, her father also passed away. In addition to these personal losses, our business faced challenges, and by late 2019, it ultimately failed, leading us to file for bankruptcy in early 2020. I felt really down throughout this whole ordeal, spending many years in a state of depression. The one thing I held on to as a positive aspect of my life was my marriage. However, as our business began to struggle, my wife took on a job to help us out. She ended up working at a large retail store and eventually got promoted to a managerial position. During this time, I gained a significant amount of weight, adding 100 pounds over the course of a few years. So now I find myself overweight, having lost my business and feeling at the lowest point in my life. When the pandemic escalated, I became quite isolated due to my concerns about having asthma. My wife, on the other hand, continued working throughout this period. She started working late hours, and on her days off, she would frequently go shopping at Target, which, considering the lockdowns, should have raised some red flags. Then, one Sunday morning, she woke me up at 6 a.m. and told me she was going to the park to walk because her legs felt restless. It struck me as a bit odd, but I could relate to doing unconventional things to alleviate restless leg syndrome, as I sometimes walked on our treadmill in the middle of the night. No big deal, really. She comes home, we have breakfast, she takes a shower, the usual routine. Then, while I'm in my office working on my computer, she walks in completely without clothes, turns around to show me her whole body, and then heads to the bedroom. Naturally, I follow her. We've always had an active bed life. She wants me to give her BJ, but I notice a strange smell. I leave the room, thinking maybe it was because she went for a walk at the park. Cheating on me was the furthest thing from my mind at that point, so I wasn't really concerned. But there's something nagging at me. The next day, I check her browsing history and discovered that she was on the Facebook pages of 2 guys who I know don't work at her store. This worries me because she doesn't have male friends who aren't coworkers. Another day goes by and my mind is still wandering. Then, on July 22nd, 2020 at 3 a.m., it hits me. I wake up and think I should grab her phone and check it. I lay in bed for a while, debating whether I should even get up because I'm tired. Finally, I grab her phone, not really knowing what I'm looking for. Almost instantly, I see Snapchat, which I didn't even know she had. She has 3 male friends, 2 of whom I saw her checking out on Facebook, and a guy she works with. She denies any involvement with him, but I don't believe her. When she wakes up, she asks if I'm okay. I directly ask her if she's cheating on me, and she denies it. We talk for a few hours, and during the conversation, I discover that I can download her Snapchat history. I lock myself in a room and proceed to do so. She pleads with me not to, admitting that she indeed cheated on me. Boom! My whole life shatters into pieces. I feel like she abandoned me at my lowest point when I needed her the most. She denies this, but the facts speak for themselves. She throws it in my face that she's supporting us now, as if she forgot the first 16 years of our marriage when she didn't have to work and could shop freely. Oh, and now she claims she's not materialistic. Well, Both of these guys are broke losers. One even borrowed money from my wife, but I'll get to that later. And the other one lives in a rundown trailer owned by a relative because his credit is so terrible he can't rent on his own. He has also been arrested for DUI more than 10 times. I messaged both guys on Facebook, calling them worthless and informing each of them about the other. Funny how they were upset that she was cheating on me with other people besides them. One of them doesn't respond, but the one who borrowed money from my wife now wants to fight me. Later on, I find out that he's obsessed with fighting me and keeps telling my wife that he wants to fight me. Then he gave her one more piece of news. He told her that he would not pay her back. With my head spinning, I knew I needed help. I reached out to my old buddy, who happened to be a lawyer. He and I had been thick as thieves back in the day. Our parents were best pals, and we pretty much grew up together. Many of our best childhood memories involved running wild in our neighborhood and hanging out together through our teen years. It felt surreal turning to him now in such a grim situation. What floored me was his response. Knowing my financial struggles, he offered to help me out for free. It was an overwhelming moment. I hadn't expected such generosity, especially not in these tough times. So I worked with my lawyer friend to get all my ducks in a row. We had to carefully gather evidence of the infidelity, which was more emotionally taxing than I'd anticipated. Every message I read was a fresh wound in my already hurting heart. But I steeled myself knowing that this was crucial for the legal process. With my friend's help, we meticulously compiled everything, text messages, phone call logs, social media interactions, into a comprehensive dossier. The more I delved into it, the more I realized how deep the betrayal went. It was evident that this affair wasn't a sudden mistake, but rather a calculated series of actions that spanned months, maybe even longer. Now, the objective wasn't merely getting a divorce, but also ensuring I retained my assets. You see, the house we lived in was something I'd worked my butt off for. It was more than a property, it was a symbol of the sweat and tears I'd poured into our now bankrupt business. The last thing I wanted was to lose it. Fortunately, my friend was a real pro. He guided me through the process, explaining how to protect my rights to the house and other properties we owned. He was there for me, not just as a lawyer, but also as a friend, providing emotional support during the turmoil. Within a few weeks, we had everything ready. We moved swiftly and served my wife with divorce papers. She was completely taken by surprise. She had no inkling of what was coming her way. I wish I could say I felt remorse seeing her in that state, but all I felt was a grim satisfaction. As the reality of the situation dawned on her, she went into hysterics. She fell to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. But I didn't flinch. I had spent too many nights crying over her betrayal. It was time for her to feel the pain. When she realized she was about to be homeless, with no savings or financial security, the real panic set in. She tried pleading with me, begging me to reconsider. But I had made up my mind. She had made her bed, and now she had to lie in it. Everything happened so quickly after that. Within a couple of weeks, she was out of my house. I changed all the locks, ensuring she couldn't get in again. And the last time she pounded on the door, trying to get in, I called the cops. They issued a restraining order against her. It wasn't an easy journey. I felt a lot of anger, betrayal, and grief. But throughout the process, I also found a new strength in me that I didn't know existed. My friend was right there with me, helping me navigate through this rough patch, and I'm grateful for that. Today, I'm in a much better place, emotionally and mentally. I've learned to prioritize my happiness and peace, and I look forward to rebuilding my life, one day at a time. Right after everything happened, I immediately started working out again. For the first 20-plus years of our relationship, I used to work out almost every day. But when my depression started and I began taking antidepressants, I stopped exercising. So out of the 100 pounds I gained, I've already lost over 80 pounds. And I'm in great shape now. And as for my wife, well, she made her choices. She had to face the consequences. I don't harbor any ill feelings towards her anymore. It's more of indifference now. I've decided to move on, learn from this experience, and become a better, stronger person. After all, that's all we can do, isn't it? Pick ourselves up and keep moving forward, and no matter how tough the path is. I heard that she's been having financial trouble and maxed out her credit cards. As for me, I'm working a job that I enjoy and have started another business. I may be starting from scratch, but I feel like I'm on the path to happiness, even if I never meet someone else. What's funny to me is that she actually expects me to help her with her taxes. She has a debt of over $3,000. She emailed me claiming that it's unfair for her to pay it all because we were married for the first 5 months of last year. Can you believe the audacity? She tries to justify all her terrible and soul-destroying actions, yet she thinks I should assist her in paying her taxes. It's clear that she has such little respect for me to even assume I would help. I've reached a point where I couldn't care less, so I won't even bother replying and giving her the satisfaction of a response. Maybe I could have made a snarky comment like, "Why don't you ask one of your boyfriends for help? Perhaps the one who borrowed money from you and never paid it back." It's actually quite amusing. Before our first D-Day, she lent our money to one of the guys she was involved with, but never got it back. Here's the kicker. Supposedly, he was supposed to repay her just a day or two after D-Day. But when she revealed that her husband, me, found out about their affair and they could never speak again, his interest in repaying vanished. He probably never had any intention of paying her back in the first place. But she believed they had something special, so she never thought he would lie to her. Haha. So the main point I want to make with this post is that in the past, just thinking about all this stuff would really get to me. I used to believe that today, my birthday, would be difficult. However, since going no contact since Christmas Day, I simply don't care anymore. I guess I can view it as her being fined $3,000 for making poor life choices. On April 8th, 2022, she had the audacity to email me on my birthday. Yesterday, she sent me an email wishing me a happy birthday and all the best in life. She mentioned that there are more things she wants to say and expressed a desire for us to be talking. I chose not to reply, but for a few minutes it did anger me. I mean, we both know she cheated on me last year on my birthday. It's quite astounding that she doesn't seem to think much about the impact of her actions, to the point where she would email me to say, "Happy birthday." Second story. While I was traveling, my wife started experiencing strange behavior for about a week. She talked in riddles, chanted, and acted oddly. She gave away things and threw out plastic items. She heard voices and even threw her and our daughter's phones into the lake. She called me and asked me to delete certain friends' numbers because she believed they were bad spirits. To make matters worse, she somehow lost $100K that we had saved for emergencies. I hadn't put it in a safe yet since we had recently moved. One night while I was away, she went around knocking on neighbors' doors at 2 a.m. Someone called the police and they tried to reach me, but I missed the call. They ended up contacting my son, who then called me. Thankfully, she made it back home safely, although I didn't know at the time that she had thrown the phones in the lake. She sent me an email at 3 a.m. from her computer to let me know she and our daughter were okay, but they had lost their phones. When I returned home the following day, she greeted me with enthusiasm and seemed genuinely happy to see me, although her conversation was a bit scattered. Despite that, she appeared to be normal overall. The next day, I discovered her digging in the backyard with her bare hands. Concerned, I suggested that we go to the hospital to get her checked out. She agreed, and I helped her clean up. Afterward, she mentioned feeling tired, so I played some gentle music and encouraged her to take a nap. While she slept, I ordered food, and when she woke up, we had a meal together, watched some TV, and then she felt tired again, so we went to bed. Everything seemed fine at that point. The next morning, at 5 a.m., she started talking nonstop about spirits and government conspiracies. I told her I was still tired and to go back to sleep, but she got up, and I went back to bed. When I woke up, I discovered that all the doors were open and our pets were wandering the neighborhood. I searched for her, but couldn't find her. When I returned home, she was holding our dog. By the way, she had spent $5,000 on a dog we didn't want or need and couldn't properly care for that week. She claimed she needed to return it to the neighbor, saying it was theirs. I disagreed, reminding her that she had just bought the dog. There's more craziness, but I don't have the energy to type it all out. I suggested we put the dog away and leave. We went to the emergency room to have her checked out. and they ended up placing her on a 72-hour hold. I had no idea what that meant. They took her away from my care and forced me to leave the hospital. Later, the doctor informed me that she had experienced some kind of manic episode and that they would take care of her. I called every hour to check on her, and while they didn't have a bed available, they had medicated her and she was resting. Finally, around 1 a.m., they transferred her to a psychiatric facility where they would provide assistance. I called the facility at around 8 a.m. to check on her, and they informed me that she was resting peacefully. They also mentioned that there was a visiting hour from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. Since the place was an hour away, I left at 9:45 a.m. and arrived to see her at 11 a.m. To reach her, I had to go through 3 locked doors with badge access, and a security officer accompanied me and kept a close eye on me. Then I had to wait in the visitation area. When she walked in, she appeared very excited. "Hi, sweetie," she exclaimed, although her speech was a bit impaired. She approached me for a hug, but she was walking slowly and cautiously. I held her tightly and asked her how she was doing. Her response shocked me. "I just had closeness," she said. I was taken aback and asked with whom. I suspected she might be hallucinating. She explained that a guy here had claimed to be me, her husband, but during their encounter, he revealed himself as Johnny and declared that he would be her new boyfriend. I was stunned and realized she was in a fragile state, so I didn't press further on the matter. I was simply in shock. After visiting hours with her were over, I reported the incident to the facility. They asked me to leave, but I insisted on speaking with an administrator. I had conversations with 2 administrators who assured me that they take such allegations seriously and would investigate the matter. They mentioned involving the police. However, they soon started avoiding my questions and providing only limited information. They claimed it was a privacy issue and that patients had a right to privacy. I informed them that I had a medical power of attorney, but it didn't make a difference. They refused to share any test results or details about the medications she was being given. When I came to see her on the second day, she was heavily medicated and unable to communicate properly. Still, they didn't provide me with any additional information. One person mentioned that the incident had occurred at 9:40 a.m., even though I had arrived at 11 a.m. The police report confirmed the details after interviewing both parties and a witness. Since both parties claimed it was consensual, no charges were filed and the investigation was closed. It's devastating for me to accept. Our strong bond for the past 23 years has been based on our deep love and loyalty, with neither of us desiring anyone else. One of her mantras has always been, "My body is my temple," and the thought of breaking that trust would mean the end of our relationship. Reading the police report and learning what she said, along with the witness account, is truly crushing. She is now back home and doing much better. She's attending therapy and taking her prescribed medications. In her recent therapy session, her therapist asked if she wanted me to be present, and she agreed. They were having a conversation about various things, and at one point, she brings up an incident that I had heard about before, where one of her friend's husbands grabbed her breast, and she was very disturbed by it. But this time, the story continues, and she reveals that after that happened, they had closeness. I'm sitting there beside her on the couch, completely shocked once again. It happened around 14 years ago, but this is the first time I'm hearing about it, and it makes me question if we truly shared everything. My mind goes back to the time when our bed life suddenly declined for a few years, and now that our daughter is 13, my thoughts are racing. It took a long time for our bed life to recover. I learned all of this last Monday, and it left me feeling shattered, like my whole life has been a lie. I can't help but wonder if there were other guys involved. If I know the complete truth, does she genuinely want to be with me, or am I just the provider? I have achieved a lot of success, but she spends all of our money. I just needed to get all of this off my chest.